Hello everyone! Yes, you did read the title correctly. Today I'll be going over as many positive things as possible from each Destiny 2 expansion, starting back from none other than the Curse of Osiris up until Lightfall. I wanted to try something a little different, something positive for a change, so this video has come into existence. Also, credit to Solar for their inspiration for this video. They made a video, which I'll be linking in the description, where they gave a positive for every Destiny 2 season, and I wanted to take that to the next step and do positives for every expansion. I know some of you will want me to be all cynical and criticize some of the more obviously bad expansions, but that's been done to hell and back already tenfold by the community. So let's subvert expectations for a bit and bring some good energy to the community. Keep in mind that this is purely subjective since I'm sharing my own opinion on the following state of affairs. If you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear some of your favorite moments from each of these DLCs and expansions. So, without further ado, let us bring the good vibes and start the video. To start this off, I'll be tackling what is considered one of the worst DLCs ever released for this game, the Curse of Osiris, which was the first DLC of Destiny 2's lifecycle. This DLC was launched on the 5th of December 2017. Man, that was a while ago. With it came a brand new destination, new public events, a new story, and much more. One of my favorite aspects of this DLC was Mercury itself, a fully converted planet turned into nothing more than another Vex machine to ensure their perfect future. One of the highlights of this destination and a major selling point of this DLC was none other than the Infinite Forest. The core of Mercury being transformed into a massive simulation engine to help the Vex predict the perfect future. Each pathway to the new strikes and story locations were randomly generated with simulated enemies of all kind of variety, ranging from lowly dregs to the mightiest legionaries. When first stepping into the Infinite Forest and being shown the way by an echo of Osiris, the scale just utterly baffled me. Knowing this is what the Vex are capable of was just insane. Panoptes is the major antagonist of this DLC, and I utterly love the design of this machine. Like seriously, the bat-like wings, the tendrils, and its ever-staring red eye are just chef's kiss. With Curse of Osiris, we were also introduced to the concept of raid lairs. The raid lair for this DLC was Eater of Worlds, which, fun fact, had a world's first completion by a team made up entirely from the LFG community. A Vex mine from the core of Nessus had lodged itself into the Leviathan's bowels and was ferrying Vex into the ship. The scale of the boss fight was amazing. Just the pure size and design, the little red tongue that sticks out when the fight starts, it's beautiful. And on top of all that, we got to explore more of the Leviathan and further fuel Callus's fantasies about us. Welcome to the second mini DLC for Destiny 2, Warmind. In this DLC, we return to the planet Mars, specifically its polar ice caps. A grave threat looms on the horizon, something ancient that is so dangerous that it threatens the Warmind Rasputin himself. Let's start with the loading screen for this DLC. It certainly was an iconic one, and honestly, I love that for this DLC. Always having to turn the TV volume down late at night when booting up the game during this time so you don't wake up your family. Oh, good times. The Frozen Hive's design were a big takeaway for me, and the fact we got to fight a worm god was spectacular. Sure, you can say the fight against Zol was disappointing, but the fact we finally got to see a worm god in-game and hear his voice was very breathtaking. If I had to pick one major highlight, I'd say Escalation Protocol would be the choice for me. One of the first activities to truly unite the player base in a public space towards a common goal. Firstly, the armor from this activity. Just look at it! Armor designs peaked here. Some of the most broken weapons came from this age, mainly the Aikilo's shotgun. This was, at the time, one of the most challenging activities in the game besides the raids. You could get up to 9 players in a public space at the time to partake in this activity. I believe there were 5 bosses in total, each with unique designs and mechanics to boot. With this DLC also came another raid lair, the Spire of Stars. This day 1 experience was one of the hardest, mainly at the final boss. This time, a rogue group of the Red Legion was trying to take over the Leviathan to usurp Callus and restore glory to this shamed legion. The best part of this raid lair was the fact we got to destroy an entire fleet of Red Legion ships during the fight. We were even assisted by a Callus automaton. And sure, the final encounter was a pain in the ass, but that makes it all the more satisfying when you beat it. It's a shame that it got vaulted. Here we go. Year 2 of Destiny 2. One of the most renowned expansions to ever come out of this game. This expansion's E3 reveal trailer shocked the world. Currently sitting at 4.5 million views as the world was informed of Cayde 6's impending death. Forsaken launched on September 4th, 2018, beginning the second year of Destiny 2. Similar to the original Destiny's The Taken King expansion, Forsaken had a large overhaul on gameplay, though not to the extent that The Taken King had with the original Destiny. This was a large expansion. The story had a Western revenge theme, according to Bungie, taking place across the reef's tangled shore and the Dreaming City. The season's story follows events after Cayde 6 is killed while trying to contain a prison outbreak at the Prison of Elders initiated by Uldren Sov, seeking his lost sister Mara Sov. The Guardians seek justice on both Uldren and the Scorn Barons complicit in Cayde's death. A new enemy species, the Scorn, was introduced. Undead fallen raised by the power of Dark Ether under Uldren and the Scorn Barons' control. I absolutely love the idea of the Scorn. Undead enemies in any video game, especially ones of a previous enemy faction, just intrigue me in a way I can't fully describe. Their design of just being pure scavengers scraping together whatever they can to fight with is astounding. The boils on their skin are just utterly disgusting in a good way, and the mere idea of them using their own bodies to rush at you and explode is just hands down terrifying. Speaking of designs, the Dreaming City. Oh my god, this is hands down one of the most, if not the most, beautiful locations we have gotten to explore ever in both these games' lifespan. Not only that, but we got a whopping 2 patrol zones instead of the usual 1, with the Dreaming City being filled to the brim with secrets. We got 9 new light supers, some being reworks and others being completely brand new. Of course, you can't have an expansion without a raid, and what we got was breathtaking. The Last Wish was Forsaken's raid, and we got to fight a bloody dragon as the final boss. Seriously, a whole ass Taken dragon to fight. Now yes, I'm aware of the cheese strat to beating Riven, and I'm guilty of doing so myself, but this has proven to be an even harder day 1 fight than Spire of Stars. It's still difficult to do the legit to this very day. There's also a new challenge added to the game, a mini raid if you will, called Dungeons. This dungeon was called the Shattered Throne and was ultimately the reason the curse on the Dreaming City was set into motion, so go us. If I had to pick one thing from this expansion that I'd like, it would be the bold choice of having to kill off our beloved Cayde 6. It was a shame they couldn't get Nathan Fillion back for the role, but Nolan North did an outstanding job filling in for him. You could barely tell the difference. But he's coming back in the final shape with Nathan Fillion, my beloved. This next one is a bit more divisive in the community. Not nearly as divisive as Lightfall was, but divisive nonetheless. Shadowkeep was originally planned to be released on September 7th, 2019, but was delayed to October 1st, 2019. In Year 3 of Destiny 2, we return to the moon and must face our darkest nightmares in the form of our old foes spanning from D1 up until Forsaken. The story revolves around us pushing back these nightmares and preparing for the inevitable return of the darkness. My favorite moment in this expansion without a doubt was the discovery of the pyramid in the opening mission. Walking around that corner for the first time and being forced to take it in by the game was both breathtaking and intimidating at the same time, especially when we finally got to go inside it during the final mission. The darkness speaking to us through our ghost and seeing the darkness architecture up close and personal was so damn cool. The final cutscene of this expansion sets up for us our future fight to preserve the light, and without a doubt is the creepiest cutscene we have ever gotten. No new supers were added this time round, but we did get a new dungeon and a raid. The dungeon Pit of Heresy was pretty cool, getting to explore the depths of the Scarlet Keep and having a cool final boss arena. The new raid, Garden of Salvation, was the highlight for me for this expansion. Yes, it's not a very popular raid in the community, but it's a guilty pleasure to me. I've always loved the Soul Divisive's designs, and the way the Black Garden looks is just so perplexing. There's beauty there, but deep down you know the horrors that lurk beneath the surface. Don't even get me started on the final boss music, that shit slaps. On June 9th, 2020, Bungie announced the 5th expansion, Beyond Light, which was planned to be released on September 22nd, 2020, but was delayed to November 10th, 2020 due to the pandemic. The circumstances for this expansion were quite unique. as were it for many other games, TV shows, movies, and other projects being worked on at this time, thanks to the virus. Once the expansion actually came out, we were introduced to a new destination, Europa. With Europa came 3 brand new supers, except they weren't of the light. They were of the dark. Stasis is such a cool concept. Dark space ice magic with some of the best sound designs for supers this game has ever seen. Now, this destination has been anticipated for a long time due to one thing and one thing only: the Deep Stone Crypt. The birthplace of the Exos has been and always will be one of the biggest mysteries in this game, and the fact we actually got a raid centered around this location was pure joy to me. Now, with Beyond Light we didn't get a new dungeon, but the raid certainly made up for that loss. Without going into heavily gushing about this raid, I will part this section with one thing: Deep Stone Lullaby. I don't know what Michael Salvatore was cooking with in the studio, but I'll be damned if this isn't one of his best pieces. Destiny 2 The Witch Queen released on the 22nd of February 2022, and ushered in both year 5 of this game, but also a new age for storytelling we haven't quite seen for this series. Savathun has been a long-time thorn in our Guardian's side, and finally getting to face her was so satisfying. The voice work Deborah Wilson does was just outstanding. You can tell just how much fun she was having with this role. The new location for this expansion is none other than Savathun's throne world, but it isn't like any other throne world we've been to. Both Oryx and Crota's respective throne worlds embrace the culture of the Hive and their worship towards the darkness. But as this expansion goes over, Savathun has now embraced the light and bathed her throne world and new Lucent Hive in it. Speaking of Lucent Hive, we got to fight enemies that wield the light. The Knights represent the Titan class and wield Void, Acolytes represent Hunters and wield Solar, and Wizards represent Warlocks and wield Arc. Seeing this in the reveal trailer was mind-blowing, because sure, we fought enemies wielding Stasis and Beyond Light, but our enemies had the light now. The game has changed, so to speak. I remember watching the post-credit scene of this expansion like it was yesterday. Finally getting to see the voice behind the darkness, the one who's been speaking through our ghost for so long, the witness in all its glory. Yes, memes were made saying it looked like a Megamind, but the two voices echoing from this being surely gave you chills. I know it did for me. Again, there was no new dungeon that launched alongside this expansion, but there certainly was a new raid, Vow of the Disciple. And it was amazing. Inside Savathun's throne world, specifically in the swampy area, was a sunken pyramid that loomed in the background of the whole campaign, and now we are beckoned by the being trapped inside it to enter. This being was named Rolk, the first disciple of the Witness. This raid was pure cinema, with so many amazing moments from each of the boss fights to puzzles to just the scale of how insignificant we are inside the damn thing. Hell, there's even the mother of the worm gods trapped inside there feeding Rolk's super weapon, the Upended. Rolk's boss fight music just goes ham on the guitar. Yet another banger from Salvatore. And finally, we come to year 6 of Destiny 2's life cycle, Lightfall. Lightfall will be released on February 28th, 2023. The expansion is set in the mysterious, technologically advanced city of Neomuna, located on Neptune, and will revolve around Emperor Callus, now a disciple of the Witness, as he, the Witness, the Black Fleet, and their army of Shadow Legion Cabal, and Pyramid Tormentors invade Neomuna en route to the Traveler in the Last City. The Guardian will meet the Cloud Striders, the alternate descendants of humanity and inhabitants of Neomuna, who will help the Guardian discover the power of Strand, a new darkness-based subclass based on the psychic energy and movement, and can use Strand grappling hooks to traverse the Neomuna skyline. Originally planned for a fall 2022 release, it was delayed to early 2023 due to the delay of the Witch Queen. Strand was such a fun super to play with throughout the campaign, and still is to this very day. It is our second, and from the looks of things, the last darkness-based super we're getting. Neomuna is very aesthetically pleasing to look at, and I like the Blade Runner vibes it gives off. Again, there was no new dungeon at launch, but as we've come to expect, there was a new raid. In the opening cutscene, we see the Witness's pyramid get blasted by the Traveler's Beam, and watch as the vines begin growing everywhere. Well, in the raid, we enter the pyramid, and just see how badly the vines have been growing and how they've overtaken the pyramid. Our foe here is none other than Nezarec, final god of pain. He is yet another disciple of the Witness and thrives on the fear and nightmares of his enemies. The whole design of the overrun pyramid was the highlight for me. It just looks so beautiful, and seeing another tree of silver wings growing in the background throughout the raid was such a nice touch. Well, that's it. That's all the current DLCs and expansions that are available to talk about from D2. I know some of these takes may be controversial, and you're more than welcome to disagree, especially on the more divisive DLCs and expansions, but that's the fun of it. We each have different opinions, and that's okay. So, tell me, what were your thoughts on what I said here today? Do you agree or disagree? Hell, is there something I missed that you liked when playing through these stories? Tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and engage in some discussion about it all. I hope this video can bring a bit more positivity to the community, as it's all been negative lately, and I'm fully guilty of adding fuel to that fire. So if you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like and maybe consider subscribing to see some more of my content. Now with this video done, I can get started on the script for my next long-form video. I've been Fawn Umbrella 612, and I hope you have an amazing day. Stay frosty.